Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you are viewing this lesson and completing this material. It is Mr. Serban, and today we are going to be learning how to divide a polynomial by a monomial. Now, you have done this before, just in a smaller scale. You did it almost one problem at a time. What you are going to do is each problem, you're going to break it down into multiple fractions, and to go over the actual verbiage, you're going to divide the top of the fraction, the numerator, by the monomial in the bottom, the denominator. You divide the big numbers, subtract the small. This goes back to when we learned exponents. So for example 1, on top, I have 1, 2, 3 terms. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3 fractions. So here I'm going to have 6r squared, s squared on top, divided by 3rs. The next one I'm going to have plus 3rs squared on the top, divided by 3rs. And for the last fraction, I'm going to have 9r squared s divided by 3rs. So as it says up here, we divide our whole numbers and subtract our exponents of like terms. R's and S's cannot cross over. I subtract R from R and S from S. So looking here, I divide 6 by 3. This gives me 2. I divide R squared by R, which means I have 1 R left on top. And I have S squared and S to the first. Remember, if there's no exponent, then it is automatically 1, which gives me 2RS. My next part, I divide 3 divided by 3, which gives me plus 1. R divided by R, there are no R's left over, so I don't write it. And then S squared over S, which gives me S to the 1. Now this 1 here is not needed. It is a placeholder because it has something there. However, if you leave it, that is correct as well, with or without the 1. My next one, I have 9 divided by 3. That gives me 3. R squared divided by R. That gives 1R. 1S and 1S mean that those cancel out, like over here. And then I bring this sign down here, so I have minus. And that is my final answer. I'm going to do the same thing on the next problem. I'll have maybe a few higher exponents, but it's the same exact process. I have 1, 2, 3 terms here, so I'm going to have 1, 2, 3 fractions, plus signs in the middle. Write all of my terms on the top, 3a squared, b, 6a to the third, b squared, 18ab. On the bottom, I'm going to have all of them. I'm going to have 3ab, 3ab, 3ab. Now, if you know to just divide all of them by this, you can do that. You don't have to set it up every time. However, it is helpful to make sure you know, okay, divide the first one, second one, third one. Don't want to miss anything. Now I divide. 3 divided by 3, that gives me 1. I only have 1a left over because I have a squared and a to the first. And then I have b over b, which cancels out. This 1, once again, I have an a there, so I don't need it, but it's fine if it's there. I bring down my plus sign. Oops. Bring down my plus sign. 6 divided by 3 gives me 2. A to the third over a to the first. I subtract 3 from 1, which gives me a to the second. B squared and b. I have 1b left over because 2 minus 1. Finally, the last section, I have 18 divided by 3 gives me 6. A's cancel out because I have 1 on top and bottom. And my b's cancel out because I have 1 on top and bottom, leaving just 6 and giving me this as my final answer. This may bring back what we did with exponents, it may not, but either way it is the same process. Continuing. So I'm going to complete the next 2 examples. You will then complete the next worksheet that is attached. So a couple more examples. Still doing the same thing. I have 1, 2 here, so I'm going to have 1, 2 fractions because I have 2 terms. Bring down my minus sign. Write all of my top terms, so 12x squared y, 3x, and then write on the bottom 3x and 3x. This is a question. You will see one here that I've seen a lot. I'm going to make sure that I get it out of the way. First one, I do 12 divided by 3. This gives me 4. X squared over x to the first gives me 1x. And then there are no y's to subtract, so I just have 4xy. Bring down my minus sign. 3x divided by 3x. When I divide, division cannot equal 0. So if you somehow get 0, you need to double check, because no division can give me 0. So what that means is if I divide the same thing by the same thing, for example 2 over 2 is equal to 1. So now 3x over 3x gives me 1. You should not ever get a 0. No term should magically appear or disappear. Finally, example 4. I divide. So I have 1, 2, 3 fractions. So I have 1, 2, 3 fractions. 3 terms, 3 fractions. So I have 3x squared y plus 6xy minus 9x squared y squared. On the bottom, I use 3xy. It's the same term to all of them. And this one you will see something that breaks a little bit of a pattern. So I divide 3 divided by 3. This gives me 1. X squared divided by x gives me x. Once again, that 1 doesn't need to be here. Over here, this 1 does need to be here because it's the only thing holding that place. Here I have an x. So it's okay if you have the 1 here. Over here you need that 1. And y's cancel out. Plus 6 divided by 3, I get 2. Divide my big numbers, subtract my small or my exponents. Put 1s on all of these. Oh, I noticed something. My x's cancel out, my y's cancel out. I'm left with 2. Dividing my last term, I get minus 9 divided by 3. I get 3. On the bottom, I have 1x and 1y. On top, I have 2 x's and 2 y's. This gives me 1x and 1y. Now, if you notice, all the other ones usually ended with a constant only, so a number. So here and here. But this one, it's okay if your constant is in the middle. Does not matter as long as you divide properly. You will get the correct result. And that is my solution. This is all you will be doing today. Same process. Constructor fractions. Divide by the bottom. Remember to divide your big numbers. Let's see up here. Divide your big numbers. Subtract your exponents or your small numbers. And then complete the attached assignment. You have 12, so if you notice, they're all the same process. Make sure to submit it to Google Classroom. Make sure you keep on that, and then we will move on to a new unit tomorrow where I have got another video coming. If you have questions, feel free to email me, send me comments on the Google Classroom, whatever you need to do to get in contact with me, and then we will go from there.